I want you to just picture this for a second. You are 3 hours into this massive, meticulously planned virtual road trip.
Oh, man, I can already feel the tension.
Right. You're hauling a 40-ton industrial turbine through just a lashing rainstorm across a digital representation of Europe.
Wipers on full blast.
Exactly. Your wipers are squeaking rhythmically, you are totally dialed into the rhythm of the gears, and then you take a corner just a fraction of a second too late.
Ouch. The worst feeling.
You misjudge the braking distance, your tires lose grip on that slick tarmac, and boom! Your massive rig is pitched sideways, and you are hopelessly buried in a muddy ditch.
And, for over a decade in the heavy trucking simulator community, that scenario right there, that was a death sentence for your night.
Oh, absolutely. Your convoy is ruined. Your momentum is just completely dead. But as of the upcoming 1.59 update, SCS software has basically handed drivers a literal, get out of the ditch free card.
Yeah, they really did.
And surprisingly, a massive chunk of the hardcore community is just absolutely furious about it.
It is the ultimate collision between quality of life improvements and the sacred illusion of the simulator.
Right. Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are looking at this April 4th, 2026 blog post from the developers, and it's detailing this brand new feature called Tow to Road for both Euro Truck Simulator 2 and American Truck Simulator.
And the concept is pretty straightforward, right? Hitting F7 and paying a small in-game fee instantly teleports your stranded truck to the nearest safe location on the pavement.
A digital mulligan.
Exactly. But tweaking the friction of a simulator exposes some very, very raw nerves about what this genre is fundamentally supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever developers alter the consequences of failure, the community reaction is incredibly revealing.
It really is. So let's just dig right into the actual mechanics of this new Tow to Road feature because, well, I kind of have a bone to pick with how they've chosen to implement it.
Oh, so?
From a design perspective, if we are already bending the laws of physics to do this geographic reset, literally blinking a 40-ton machine through space, why stop halfway?
I see where you're going with this.
Right, because the blog post specifically notes that if you disconnect your trailer before using the feature, the trailer stays permanently marooned in the ditch.
Yeah, it gets left behind.
Only your cab gets magically lifted to the asphalt. And it's like, if they're giving us an undo button, why wouldn't they just reset the whole truck and trailer setup, regardless of whether it's hooked up?
Well, see, that specific limitation is engineered entirely to prevent cargo exploits.
Exploits? Like cheating the delivery.
Exactly. Think about it. If the game allowed a player to sever the connection, teleport the cab, and have the cargo just magically warp alongside them, you would effectively be handing players a localized fast travel system for heavy loads.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the game engine actually tracks the state of the kingpin connection between the cab and the trailer. The moment that physical connection is severed, the physics mesh of the trailer just becomes an independent, static object in the world geometry.
It's just a building at that point.
Right. Only the active cab entity, the vehicle you were directly piloting, receives the coordinate bump.
Okay, that makes sense. Because otherwise it totally stops people from unhooking a massive transformer, driving up some treacherous mountain pass completely empty, and then just summoning the cargo to the top.
Yeah, that would completely break the economy. And I mean, that's the exact same logic behind the gray out mechanic they mentioned.
Right. The developers said that if you wander too far from your last safe position on the road, the F7 button becomes completely unavailable.
Exactly. The underlying code is constantly checking your radius against the last recorded safe node on your driven path.
So you can't go off-roading for fun and then bail out.
Right. It prevents players from taking a massive shortcut through, like a dense forest or an unmarked logging trail, realizing they are hopelessly lost in the mud, and then exploiting the button to warp back to a highway they left 5 miles ago.
So it really is designed to be a highly localized undo for just a momentary slip-up, not a teleporter.
Precisely. And it's also really vital to distinguish this from the classic code of service mechanic.
Which is still in the game, right?
Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere. If you take a corner too fast, flip, and completely destroy your engine block, you still have to endure the punishing trip to the mechanic. Tow to Road is strictly for bad positioning, not bad maintenance.
Which is a crucial distinction. But, I keep thinking about the timing of this. Update 1.59 is dropping this feature now. And I have to imagine this is fundamentally a Band-Aid for the Convoy player.
Oh, without a doubt. Multiplayer is where this really shines.
Because anyone who runs multiplayer sessions knows the absolute logistical nightmare of a single crash.
It's brutal.
You've got 5 or 6 trucks running in a perfect line, pacing each other, you're communicating over the CB radio, having a great time, and then one guy clips a guardrail and gets stuck.
And suddenly, the entire multiplayer session just effectively halts.
Exactly. Half your night is spent parked on the shoulder, waiting for your buddy to teleport to a city, pay for repairs, and then drive 40 miles back out to catch up.
Yeah, that multiplayer desynchronization is arguably the largest pain point the community has faced since Convoy mode was introduced. When one player goes down, the whole social momentum is just broken.
You're just sitting there in your digital cab listening to the digital rain.
Right. The logistics of regrouping over a massive, 1 to 20 scale map, it turns a relaxing drive into a waiting room. So this feature is a massive injection of quality of life just to keep those sessions moving.
But it's not just about reckless driving either. I saw a really great point in the developer forum from a very careful player by the name of XP Henrique.
Oh yeah, I read that comment.
They noted that the physics engine itself can frequently be the culprit. Like if you are hauling a forestry machine or any cargo with an exceptionally high center of gravity,
Which is already incredibly touchy.
a minor collision mesh error on an off-ramp or even just a slight bump in the road geometry can violently flip your rig, even if you are only doing like 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, the game's own geometry basically just drop kicks you.
Exactly. You didn't make a mistake. The simulation just had a hiccup. So this button acts as a critical safety net against the engine's own quirks.
It does. But that safety net is actively creating a whole new level of panic when it comes to World of Trucks contracts.
Oh man, the external contracts?
Yeah.
I am seeing veteran haulers practically hyperventilating in the comments over this.
Yeah, they are terrified about whether this simple geographic bump is going to completely void their external jobs.
And that anxiety is deeply rooted in how World of Trucks operates, right? Like the telemetry is super strict.
It is notoriously ruthless. For those heavily invested in the ecosystem, the servers run a highly restrictive anti-cheat protocol just to maintain the integrity of those global leaderboards.
Because people compete on those things hardcore.
Oh, absolutely. So any geographic jump that the server registers as a spatial anomaly, which includes the old tow to service function well, that triggers an immediate cancellation state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the cargo is voided, and your real-time progress is just entirely erased.
Ouch. And user David McCarthy articulated this exact fear perfectly in the comments. The community is just terrified that hitting Toda Road will send a coordinate jump to the World of Trucks server and instantly nuke a 2,000-mile contract just to save them a 5-minute inconvenience in a ditch.
And that would completely defeat the purpose for the dedicated haulers.
Right. If I lightly bump a curb, get high-centered, and the penalty for using this new quality of life feature is losing my entire 14-hour real-time delivery progress, well, the button is basically dead to me.
And the really frustrating part is that the developers didn't clarify how the WOT telemetry interacts with the F7 tweak in the blog post.
They didn't mention it at all.
Nope. And that leaves a massive vacuum of information, and naturally the community is filling it with dread, assuming the absolute worst-case scenario.
So until the beta branches actually go live and players can test those telemetry handshakes, the dedicated haulers are treating the feature like a self-destruct button.
Pretty much. Some are theorizing SES might have coded a specific exception that applies a time penalty instead of a hard cancellation. But, the lack of communication really has the veteran base on edge.
It is just wild to me that SES is offering a literal lifeline for these engine quirks and convoy headaches, and yet a highly vocal segment of the community is rejecting it on principle.
They absolutely hate it.
It really exposes this underlying purist mindset in the simulator genre. The anger all boils down to this grand debate of convenience versus realism. I mean, when you press F7, your truck just blinks out of existence and reappears on the tarmac.
It is a magic button.
Right, it shatters the entire illusion they boot up the game to experience.
Yeah, that complete lack of visual feedback is the primary sticking point for the immersion-focused players.
Right.
User Ghost Hacker called out the teleportation mechanics specifically.
What did they say?
Well, they argued that for an engine that meticulously models things like air brake pressure, suspension travel, and differential locks, a jarring screen blink just feels incredibly cheap.
Oh, for sure. They are demanding a diegetic solution, something that happens within the established reality of the game world.
Exactly.
Like spawning an AI tow truck to physically drag you out. I saw players across multiple languages, including this Brazilian user named TICL, just begging for this.
Just give us an animation.
Right, like make us wait 10 minutes on the side of the road while a non-player character slowly backs up, attaches a winch, and physically pulls the rig out.
Which would be amazing for immersion.
Oh, it would be incredible. But better yet, there's this ultimate community dream I keep seeing pop up in the forums. Let us tow each other.
Oh, the tow rope.
Yes, we have the engine torque. We have our friends right behind us in the convoy.
Wow.
Users like Ronnie, Zirin, and William were just pleading for the developers to give them a digital tow rope.
I mean, conceptually, a cooperative multiplayer tow rope sounds like a phenomenal team-building mechanic.
It sounds so fun. But technically...
Technically, it is a catastrophic networking nightmare.
Really? Why is that so hard to do?
Well, you are talking about connecting two independent, highly complex vehicle meshes with a dynamic, tension-based tether over a live, peer-to-peer or dedicated server.
Oh, so the math is just insane.
The latency alone makes it virtually impossible for the current engine architecture to handle gracefully.
Because the game would have to constantly calculate the shifting weight of both trucks at the exact same time over an internet connection.
Precisely. Think about it. If player A's client registers the rope going taut even a fraction of a second before player B's client receives that data, the physics calculations violently overcompensate.
And the collision detection panics.
Exactly. The trucks glitch into each other, and suddenly both vehicles are launched into the stratosphere at Mach 3.
We've all seen those compilation videos of physics explosions in simulators, so yeah, I get it. So when players demand a physical tow rope, they aren't just asking for a new item in the shop.
No, not at all. They're asking the developers to rewrite the fundamental networking architecture and the physics tick rate of the entire game.
Which is never going to happen for a minor update. So a simple coordinate teleportation, the magic button, is realistically the only stable way to solve the geographical trap without blowing up the server.
Yeah, the magic button is the pragmatic engineering solution.
Right.
But by doing the stable, easy thing, they're removing the friction.
And friction is everything in these games.
It is the defining philosophy of simulator design. Friction isn't the obstacle. Friction is the gameplay.
Right, like the agonizing difficulty of backing a 53-foot articulated trailer into a blind loading dock at midnight. That is the friction.
Or the brutal punishment of ruining a 2-hour delivery because you took an off-ramp too fast.
Yeah.
That's the friction. If you introduce a mechanic that bypasses the consequence of a crash, you remove the psychological weight of the cargo.
The 40-ton turbine suddenly feels weightless.
Exactly.
And the moment the truck feels weightless, it stops being a simulator and starts being an arcade game. And, you know, that psychological weight is exactly what divides the community.
It really is the dividing line.
Because this debate over the magic button naturally bleeds into a much deeper, frankly toxic identity crisis within the player base right now, we are watching a classic culture war erupt over who this game is actually built for.
The clash between the casual Sunday drivers and the hardcore veterans is getting really intense.
The gatekeeping in the comment sections is just staggering. You have players who have invested thousands of hours and frequently thousands of real-world dollars.
Oh yeah, in direct drive steering wheels, button boxes, head tracking rigs.
Exactly, and they feel fundamentally threatened by anything that nudges the title toward accessibility.
Yeah, like user Friends Von Noge, who completely dismissed the 1.59 update. They labeled it a boring and childish change meant purely for Sunday players.
They just begged the developers not to water down the experience.
And another user, Granite, was even more hostile. They bluntly stated that if you need a rescue button to get out of a ditch, you should just go play a different game entirely.
Basically saying, get out of our game.
Yeah. They demanded the developers stop wasting time on training wheels and focus on fixing the AI traffic logic instead.
It's an incredibly purist mindset, but it ignores a fundamental, kind of unglamorous reality of modern game development. Those Sunday players, they're insulting. They're the only reason the hardcore veterans are getting any updates at all.
That is the exact pragmatic reality user 2CV Super GT brought to the table, and honestly, it is a brilliant counter-perspective.
What was their take?
Well, they admitted they are a purist. They stated they will likely never touch the tow to road button themselves. But they recognized that the casual base, the people who buy the Texas DLC just to look at the scenery, The players who want to relax after work without having a minor slip-up ruin their entire evening.
Right, the casuals.
Yeah, they provide the financial volume. I mean, Euro Truck Simulator 2 came out in 2012. American Truck Simulator came out in 2016.
That's ancient in video game years. The only way SCS software can afford to keep a team of hundreds of people employed, constantly updating the graphics engine, and licensing brand new vehicle models a decade later is through the volume of casual sales.
Exactly. The hardcore players get their hyper-realistic tire deformation physics funded entirely by the casuals buying cosmetic paint job packs.
It is a symbiotic relationship. The purists need the Sunday drivers to keep the lights on at the studio.
The ecosystem collapses without both demographics. However, when you read between the lines of the outrage flooding the blog post, you start to realize something else.
What's that?
The tow to road feature isn't the actual source of the anger. F7 is acting as a proxy.
Oh, a scapegoat.
Yeah. The community is using this 1.59 announcement to vent about massive structural issues that have been gathering dust for years. The update feels like a misallocation of resources to a veteran player who has been waiting on critical infrastructure fixes.
Oh, absolutely. The comments are just filled with people shouting about entirely unrelated delays.
Like what?
Well, you have user Tyree Trey highlighting a devastating dedicated server bug that randomly mass disconnects 60 to 70 people simultaneously.
Oh, wow. That's game-breaking for big groups.
Totally. If you are running a massive virtual trucking company event, which takes weeks to organize, by the way, and the server just arbitrarily dumps everyone back to their desktop, a tow to road button is completely meaningless.
Because the road doesn't even exist anymore.
Exactly. They see the developers tweaking accessibility for newcomers, while the core multiplayer foundation they rely on is visibly cracking.
And that underlying resentment is even more pronounced when you look at the vehicle enthusiasts. The Peterbilt 389 rework has practically turned into an urban legend at this point, and it perfectly encapsulates the frustration.
Oh man, the Peterbilt, people are rabid for that truck.
Users like Kamani Thomas's and Asen00 are keeping a very, very bitter tally of promises made by the studio. SCS officially teased the 389 overhaul alongside a massive tuning pack during a Christmas livestream event.
Okay, sounds normal.
That stream took place in 2022.
2022. Wait, we are looking at a blog post from April 2026.
Yep. So these players have been waiting over 3 years for a truck that developers already modeled and showed off on camera.
That is wild. I saw one commenter literally tracking the drought, stating it had been 537 days since any brand new truck model hit American Truck Simulator.
Wow.
So, no wonder they are furious. The studio proudly unveils a teleportation button while a flagship vehicle has been missing in action for half a decade.
Right. When you view the blog post through that specific lens, the vitriol makes perfect sense. The outrage isn't truly about the button's existence or the concept of fast travel. It is about perceived development priorities.
They feel ignored.
Completely.
Yeah.
A veteran sees the studio dedicating engineering hours and blog space to an undue feature for the casual audience, rather than delivering the deep, long-promised structural content that the loyal base has been anticipating for years.
So the magic button is really just the spark that lit a massive powder keg of delayed gratification.
Perfectly said.
Well, bringing all of these threads together for you, Update 1.59 is dropping a massive quality of life bomb right into the middle of a community that is clearly already on edge.
For sure.
On one hand, tow to road is undeniably going to save convoy mode. It is a brilliant, technically stable band-aid for the engine's physics quirks that will keep your momentum alive and prevent a single mistake from ruining an entire evening of multiplayer.
It's a lifesaver for most of us.
But on the other hand, it is pouring gasoline on the endless culture war between the immersive purists and the accessible casuals, acting as a lightning rod for years of pent-up frustration regarding delayed content and server stability.
And, you know, looking at all this, it really forces the community to reckon with a fascinating contradiction about how we consume digital spaces.
What do you mean?
Well, think about how we operate in our real physical lives. We are utterly obsessed with removing friction.
Oh, totally. Everything has to be instant.
Right. We use real-time GPS routing to avoid even a 3-minute traffic delay. We use specialized apps to skip the line at the coffee shop. We aggressively engineer out every possible inconvenience, delay, and consequence from our daily routines.
We want the easy button for literally everything in reality.
We demand it. Yet, we enter a digital world specifically designed as an escape from that reality, and we fight tooth and nail to program that exact same frustration, the same waiting, and the same agonizing delays right back into our leisure time.
That is so true.
We actively seek out the struggle. We crave the very friction we spend our real lives trying to avoid, to the point where removing a virtual ditch feels like a personal attack.
It is the ultimate paradox of the simulator genre. So the next time you find yourself hauling down a slick mountain pass, your tires fighting for grip in the rain, and you feel the trailer start to slide. Well, as you're drifting toward that muddy ditch, ask yourself, do you want the magic button or do you want the consequence?